Hello and welcome to today's video where we'll be going over the ADDIE process and going into detail about the design phase and how it can help enhance your classroom learning experience. Designing is the second phase in the ADDIE process where you get to plan out the course. This is when you'll want to define the course objectives and set learning goals for the class. You're going to want to decide whether you want to teach in person, online, or maybe a hybrid of both. You'll also be planning out your teaching style and how the content will be present in class, either through assignments, exams, or through in-person experience. Planning what students learn is a big part of the design process. You're going to want to plan out your assignments and make sure they lay course information effectively. Make sure you know your students' knowledge on the subject. The course may require a standard of skills or information in order for students to begin actively learning. Once you know this, you can start creating assignments based around what you teach in order to expand what they already know. But make sure the content is relevant to the course, because anything off topic can cause your class to lose focus. At the end of the course, you need to test your class on what they learned and remembered, usually through an exam or through a lab proctor. Next up, you want to plan out the format of your class. Today there are several different options for learning. You can either do it in person as tradition, or you have the option of online, and many classes prefer to do a mixture of both. This is best done by thinking what suits your class the best. If you teach a class that's going to be reliant on computers or certain hardware, you maybe want to use it in a computer lab. If you're teaching something like an art class, you might want to have a room set up in an art studio that has access to materials for the class to use. If you're running some kind of science class, then it's probably a good idea to teach the class in a lab that has a lot of good lab equipment and safety procedures for experiments. If you have just a standard class that doesn't really require any certain hardware or software, then you could get away with just doing either a standard online class or an in-person class. It wouldn't be a bad idea to look up what's worked for similar classes before in the past, so you might be able to change depending on whatever the class may need. Or in case something happens that renders in-person classes unable to be attended. So once you finally got your content planned out and you've picked out the format for your class, you can begin teaching it. The best way to start things off is by giving your students a reason to learn. This is best done by getting their attention somehow or making the course information seem relevant or interesting in the real world. But you also want to know at the same time to keep the course information relevant to the course and not go too far off track. It's best to teach just what needs to be remembered or memorized in order to help them learn better. Otherwise, anything else extra is going to cause them to focus more on that and lose space for what's actually important. As you're teaching, you want to make sure your students get plenty of practice with the course material in order to maximize their exposure to the material and understanding. People will retain information a lot better if they actually see what it does and how it plays a role in their life, rather than just reading or learning about it. Once you reach the end of the class, it's important that you test your students on what they've learned, either through a big exam or through a lab test, or just something that will sum up all the information you've taught in one assignment and see how well they retain their information. It's also really important once this is done to look at the feedback of the course, see how things went. If something went bad, see how you can improve, and see what things went good and maybe expand on that. So there's several key takeaways for the design process in order to actually maximize effectiveness of your class. What are the learning objectives going to be? Like, do I want the class to memorize certain formulas? Do I want them to learn certain skills? Or do I just want them to learn everything from the book in order to help them in the future? Would the class be better in person? That way I can actually get to know the class and help answer questions better? Or should I move it online? That way maybe more people can attend and catch up on stuff they miss. What should I test the class over? Should it be on everything I've taught throughout the class? Should it be over a certain subject? Or should it be over a certain skill that I think matters more than others? What should I do to make learning more interesting? Should I just stick to the book, or should I try to incorporate some real life examples? Or maybe should I try to get students to get a little more hands-on experience? These are all important questions you should ask yourself when you're trying to design your class in order to actually maximize the learning effectiveness of it. And thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. The design process is an important step in the ADDIE phase, and it plays a big key role in the actual design of the course, and it can have a big impact on how your students learn. I hope this helps you understand it a little bit better, and maybe in the future you'll be able to use it to maximize your productivity and learning effectiveness of your future courses.